Donald Trump is losing it, but not for the reasons you might think. A group of U.S. senators, Republicans and Democrats alike, has just made a shocking move. They've traveled all the way to Greenland. And this isn't just a casual visit. They're sending a powerful, undeniable message. We do not stand with Trump and his threats against Greenland or NATO. But what's really going on here, and why does this matter so much? If you think you already know the full story, think again. What happens next could change global politics forever. The situation is bigger than just a handful of senators traveling to Greenland. It's about a brewing storm that could shake the very foundation of U.S. foreign policy. These senators, Republicans like Lisa Murkowski and Thom Tillis, alongside Democrats like Jeanne Shaheen and Coons, are standing side by side with Greenlandic and Danish lawmakers, rejecting Trump's dangerous rhetoric. But why is this happening now? What does it mean when the U.S. Senate, usually divided, comes together in such an unusual way? And why does Greenland matter so much? This isn't just about one country or one threat. It's about the future of NATO, the balance of power in the Arctic, and whether the United States can afford to alienate its allies. So what's at stake here? And who's really pulling the strings? Here's the thing. This isn't just political posturing. These senators from both sides of the aisle are making it clear. If Trump pushes forward with his threats against Greenland or NATO, there will be consequences. Senator Shaheen didn't mince words. An American military takeover of Greenland would threaten NATO as we know it. Notice what's missing here. No one's talking about how Trump's rhetoric is already doing damage. Every word, every threat chips away at the trust the U.S. has built with its allies. The reality? It's already weakening NATO's unity exactly where Russia and China want it to. And here's the kicker. This isn't just about words. This is about long-term strategy, and the senators are laying down a clear marker. If Trump keeps pushing, we will act. And it doesn't stop there. What started as an isolated statement from Trump is rapidly escalating. These senators aren't just talking about a diplomatic spat. They're setting the stage for a showdown with global implications. Remember when the U.S. had military bases in Greenland? The U.S. once operated 17 bases there, protecting the Arctic from threats. But today, the narrative has shifted. What should have been a strategic partnership is now being viewed as an existential threat. Trump's idea of buying Greenland has moved beyond just a bad joke. It's becoming a dangerous precedent. This should not be the new normal. And yet, the more this plays out, the more it's starting to look like a shift in how the U.S. views its allies, especially those in NATO. So what happens when these allies stop trusting the U.S.? The answer is far from comforting. Now let's talk about what comes next. Senator Shaheen didn't stop with her warning. She dug in deeper, explaining the long-term damage Trump's threats could cause, not just to Greenland or Denmark, but to NATO as a whole. The threats are not only unnecessary, they are counterproductive, she said. And here's why. The more Trump stirs the pot, the more he plays into Russia's hands. Think about it. Russia and China are watching this, and they're loving every second of it. If NATO fractures, it weakens the West's collective defense, and that opens the door for them to move in. The contradiction here, the U.S. has long championed the values of sovereignty, self-determination, and territorial integrity. Yet, with Trump's rhetoric, it's undermining exactly what it's preached for decades. This is where the story flips. What started as a geopolitical dispute could very well become a full-blown crisis for Western unity. And just when you think things can't get worse, the situation is piling on. First, we have Greenland's own lawmakers who are speaking out, warning that Trump's threats are creating a climate of fear. People are worried they'll wake up to an invasion. This isn't just some political drama. This is hitting home. The people of Greenland are terrified. Meanwhile, on the U.S. side, we're seeing a surge in military rhetoric, with defense officials and top lawmakers pushing for even more aggressive posturing. But it doesn't end there. The stakes are growing every day. Now you have U.S. senators from both parties rushing to send a message: we will stop this. They vowed to use their power to prevent an invasion of Greenland by any means necessary. But here's the million-dollar question. What happens if this continues? What if the U.S. keeps pushing its allies away instead of protecting them? The fallout could be far worse than anyone expects. Now let's step back and think about this from the perspective of the people involved. This isn't just a political standoff. This is real life for the people of Greenland. Imagine waking up every day not knowing if your country could suddenly be the next target of a foreign invasion. That's what the people in Greenland are feeling right now. Their security, their sovereignty, their entire way of life is on the line. And the worst part? It's all because of a political game being played thousands of miles away. This is the kind of pressure ordinary people are facing. If you've ever felt powerless in the face of a larger political issue, this hits close to home. The sense of fear is real, and it's affecting families, communities, and future generations. If this resonates with you, say something in the comments. Let's hear what you think about what's happening to Greenland. But here's where things get unsettling. What's happening right now isn't just about one president or one group of senators. It's a reflection of a much larger mechanism at play, how systems of power, leverage, and fear shape the world we live in. The push to control Greenland isn't really about securing a piece of land. It's about controlling resources, power dynamics, and ultimately, perception. NATO is more than just a military alliance. It's a symbol of unity and stability. But when that unity starts to fracture, everything else begins to fall apart. The rhetoric we're hearing from Trump and others, it's not just noise, it's the spectacle of power in action. By keeping everyone on edge, it forces countries into reactive stances, making them easier to control. This isn't just about one man's ambition. It's a calculated play to destabilize one of the world's most powerful alliances. And the more we ignore these mechanisms, the more control others, like Russia and China, gain. So what happens next? There are two possible paths forward, and neither one is simple. On one hand, you have the possibility of a major diplomatic crisis. If this conflict continues, the U.S. could see itself further isolated from NATO and its other allies. Trust would erode even more, and the cracks in the Western alliance would deepen. On the other hand, the political pushback from U.S. senators could gain enough traction to prevent Trump from escalating any further. But here's the catch. Even if the Senate steps in, the damage to global relationships is already done. These tensions might simmer for years, and it's unclear whether the U.S. will be able to repair the trust that's been shattered. The key question is, how far are we willing to go before the situation becomes irreversible? The next move is already being planned in the background, but the question remains, will we get ahead of it or will it spiral out of control? So what's the bottom line here? This isn't just about Greenland or Trump. It's about the future of NATO, the future of global alliances, and the very idea of trust between nations. The way the U.S. handles this crisis will echo through the corridors of power for decades. But here's the twist. Everything we've seen so far could be the prelude to an even bigger story, one that we haven't even begun to fully understand. What happens next might just redefine how the U.S. engages with the world. If you want to stay ahead of this story and understand where it goes from here, hit that follow button and subscribe. Because trust me, the real story is only just beginning.